It's great. Keith buys me scotch and expensive dinners, Angus beef, of course. And I buy him breakfast at Pat's Diner. He gets, he gets omelets and hash browns, and I get the Callum 18. I think that works out great. My kind of arrangement. Everybody hear me okay? It's an honor to really be here and be with you. Smart, motivated people doing important work, creating, funding, researching, supporting all kinds of great things for agriculture. Creating knowledge, products, and services that provide what the world needs, in fact, what the world must have to survive. I salute you, and in fact, it's the reason I'm here with you today. I want to make sure to say thank you to the sponsors. Also, these folks have made it possible for us to have such a really good conference, and I thank all of you for being involved in this, and I think it's just wonderful that we all come together and make something like this happen the way we do. I also want to say a special thank you to some people that have helped me out to be here to prepare for you today and tomorrow, the presentation I'm doing tomorrow. Keith Barber, where's Keith? There you are. I appreciate your help, everything that you did. Sina Ponia, I really appreciate your help very, very much. Thank you for that. Kathy Kennel and all the folks at NC State Pals, I appreciate all that you've done, and you folks have been our go-to people. It's just been wonderful to work with you. Marianne Parsons and the Education Committee, I don't know where Marianne is sitting right now, but I really appreciate everything that those folks have done. And of course, my wife Angela, who absolutely makes sure that we're in the right place at the right time, doing exactly the right thing. I appreciate all the work that she does. She's my wife for 36 years as business partner. So if you think we have some time to talk about things, you're right. She puts up with me, and I appreciate it. As our way of saying thanks to you, we are providing 2 complimentary coaching and mentoring sessions for the attendees, for selected attendees. We're going to have a drawing tomorrow at the end of my presentation tomorrow. And to enter that, I invite you to put a card in the frog. The frog is on the table right here where Angela is sitting, and we'll make sure that you have a chance to do it. It's sitting out here on our table also. There's also chocolate on our table. Eat plenty of it so that I don't. Make sure you get some of that while you're going by. And as our way of saying thank you, we're going to do these 2 complimentary coaching and mentoring sessions. Give us your card. We'll use your card also to make sure you're receiving our tip of the morning. How many of you already received our tip of the morning? That's great. Okay, for those of you that don't, give us your card. Those of you that do, give us the card too. We'll make sure you're entered to receive the complimentary coaching and mentoring. We'll do that. The tip is a 1-minute read that we provide 6 days a week on the principles of fundraising and sometimes life. And we provide that to over 2,500 people a day all around the world. We've never done anything to promote it. It's just word of mouth. We find it very meaningful and helpful. A lot of people thank us for it, and you're all invited to send us tips, by the way. Make sure you do that. I do what I do to positively impact lives. I'm here today to positively impact your life. You do what you do to positively impact lives also. Our speaker this morning talked about the importance of impact. And indeed, it's what we do. It's what I emphasize in the fundraising work that I do with our nonprofits. And we talk about impact because we want to impact the lives we touch. We are in the business of changing lives and saving lives. What a great enterprise that is. And this is especially true for those of us in the land grant and agriculture school business. We make lives better at the core. But it's a complex work that we do. It's complex because it's threefold. It's not twofold like many colleges and universities. It has the research component, the education component, the extension component. You folks know this very well. So when I was asked to speak today on spending time on what is most important, majoring in the majors, I realized that I could talk about a number of critical matters. And in fact, what I wanted to do was pick one that I thought was most important for us to talk about today. I have very specific words that I want to share with you, and in fact, you may want to take notes as we go through on the things that I say, and if you do, I invite you to do so. In talking about what's most important, I thought, I could spend time talking about time management. For people that are in the agriculture school business, managing time is really, really important. And in fact, majoring in the major, spending time on what is most important is the name of the presentation that we have for our time management presentation that we do. And I asked your group, I said to your leaders, I said, you don't want me to do a keynote on time management, do you? And they fortunately said no, so I was glad about that. But we must balance our time, so talking about time management could be a most important element to talk about. Another really important element is focus. I could talk about focus. The definition for focus, by the way, is follow one course until successful. For those of you that want to learn one thing today, remember one thing from this presentation, that may be what you want to remember. Follow one course until successful. I work with a lot of nonprofits trying to make sure that they focus. They want to go chase that new bright shiny object all the time. I'm sure that never happens at your school. I could talk about faith. I'm a Christian. Drawing close to God is something that's really important to me. Being a blessing to others is really important. I could spend a lot of time talking about this as the most important, majoring in the majors. We could talk about family. What's more important than family? Yes, that is my granddaughter. We could talk about being a great manager, a leader. Jim Schlechter, who's CEO of CEO Inc., wrote a book here that I'm reading called Great CEOs Are Lazy. A little bit provocative title. He says in the book, all your work spent on areas other than the places of greatest constraint are a waste of time. Sounds like identifying and spending time talking about our point of greatest constraint would be a most important item that I can speak about today. Another of my favorite books on leadership, written by Max Dupree, states that the first responsibility of a leader is to define success, to define reality. That sounds like a great topic for an after lunchtime talk. However, what I want to talk about today is a different what is most important. One that I believe will touch all of you and one that I believe all of us can embrace. And that spending time on what is most important is what I call simply being your best self. I first used this statement a number of years ago when I was helping a former employee find a new job. I'd given him such a high reference that I told him, you're going to have to be your best self to live up to my recommendation. I was not joking. I knew this person really well, and I knew his foibles, I knew his flaws, and I knew his kind of downfalls and what that could do for him. I also knew his best self. And when he was his best self, he was as good as they come. And I wanted him to be his best self. I use this best self concept a lot of times in our coaching and mentoring that we do. It's a reference point for the folks that I work with. In talking about being your best self, let me assure you first that I will not be encouraging you to be your best self for the sake of narcissism or just to seek self-gratification. There's too much of that today throughout our nation and our society. I will be encouraging you to be your best self for the benefit of those you serve. Also, I will not be talking about being your best self just to be your Sunday self, who you are when you're in church or going or coming from church, or to be your best self in the person you are the week of your annual evaluation. I'm not talking about being your best self one day a year. I'm talking about being your best self every day of the year. Why would you want to be anything less? Especially given the importance of the work that we do. So first, I believe to be your best self, you have to want it. Sure, I want to be my best self, but to really be my best self, I have to consciously decide to become this. I have to be determined to become this. To be determined is to say that I'm going to be undeterred by storms. Storms, the tests and trials of life, the things that make us better, can also deter us and discourage us from being our best self. To be our best self, we have to be willing to move from our comfort zones. This is especially true for land grants and agriculture schools because of the demands that are put on us. To move from our comfort zones, we have to be willing to cut the lines that tie us to the dock. Now, docks can be important. They can keep us grounded, they keep us safe in storms. However, being tied to the dock keeps us from doing and being in the place that we want to be. It keeps us in the place that we've been for days, months, or years. Being tied to the dock keeps us bound to the ways things have always been and the way things have always been done. There's little growth in that. If we don't cut the lines from the status quo, then we stay the status quo. And something else will come along. Either something else or someone else will come along to cut those lines, like a new dean, a deeply struggling economy, a personal crisis, or a new unexpected opportunity that we want to be prepared to embrace. We must be willing to seek to be our best self, and that only comes by challenging the way things are, and by the way we are. Who better to challenge me than me? Who better to challenge you than you? I like the cutting the lines from the dock analogy for another reason. Docks tend to be in shallow water. To be our best self, I think we have to go into the deep. We have to cut the lines to get into the deep, to be our deepest, truest self. Many years ago, I was a young fundraiser, no snickering. I know it was many years ago, okay? I'd probably been working 2 years for my alma mater, my first fundraising job. I liked it very much. I was very connected to the college. At one point, I even told my wife, never ask me to leave this place. I'd had a life-threatening illness while I was working there, and the college was very good to me. They were loyal to me. They did wonderful things to me. They were true. And I, in turn, felt a special measure of loyalty and dedication to the college. I didn't get paid much, but I was comfortable, and I was fine being there in this place. We got a new president. The current VP for development left. He was uncomfortable with the new president. I thought I was good enough to be the top fundraising dog after 2 years of the job. For my alma mater. But I did not like the new president either. And I'm sure my arrogance and my animosity toward him showed through. Dave Setzer, an older friend and who was also assistant to the president, came to my office late one afternoon and he said, "Ben, the president wants you out of here. What do you want me to tell him?" Yep, I fired him the job. Small college, small town, never wanted to leave this place. That's okay for some, but for me, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I might have never worked with some of the best, world-renowned institutions. I might have never traveled the world, nonetheless, working with world leaders in business, academia, and political leaders also. I had to have a storm to get me away from my dock, to cast me into the deep, and it worked out for my good. It will for you too. Currently, I'm enjoying running a business and being a consultant. I've been doing this now for 15 years. Business in a free market economy is a competitive landscape by any definition. That free market encourages and allows for the best to rise to the top, but believe me, it also allows for failure. It is no longer the big that devour the small. It is the fast that devour the slow. You've got to be on your toes. You've got to be nimble. You've got to be quick, or I will lose business just like you. As a consultant exclusively serving the nonprofit sector of our economy, nonprofits pay me to bring solutions to complex issues and create opportunities. Solutions come from a mix of experience, knowledge, and creativity. Consulting is always challenging. It is even challenging in coaching and mentoring young, inexperienced fundraisers. I may be able to answer their questions with knowledge I learned years and years ago, but the challenge now is how do I best communicate that information to a millennial that society is taught knows everything. That attitude will not serve that young fundraiser well, just like it did not serve well this baby boomer over 30 years ago. I must offer solutions to important issues, present opportunities to powerful people, speak truth to power, or I will lose business. Being in business and being a consultant supports my desire to be my best self. In fact, being in business and being a consultant makes it necessary for me to be my best self. But is that calling any less important than your work to assure safe, economical, fully nutritious food to our world? Absolutely not. Which takes us to a critical point. Wanting to be your best self also translates into the programs you lead. Now, some of you, I know 77 of you are brand new. You may think, man, I'm not leading anything. Yes, you are. You're leading something. An incremental change is good, but it may not be what your program needs, nor what it is capable of. A 3% increase in funding can be a good year, I know that. But what can you do to be more productive, to have the best fundraiser, to have the best alumni program, to have the best student programs, to have the best communications, to be the best volunteers, to have the best ag school program? What can you do? These can be extremely challenging questions in times of federal and state funding cutbacks. I know that. But who here expects the expectation to produce more to go away? Who here expects the expectation to go away that requires you to produce more with less? State-supported programs, and especially ag schools, are under incredible pressure to do more with less. We, therefore, have to be more willing and able than ever to cut the lines from the dot, to try out new ideas, to push ourselves beyond existing limits. We have to want to be our best even beyond disappointments. Anytime you are pursuing your best self, you will be disappointed. You will be disappointed sometimes in others, sometimes in ourselves. But perfection is not what I'm pursuing here. Desire for perfection is good, but the expectation of perfection on the part of managers and leaders is destructive. Perfection itself reflects a belief that everything is in your control. Everything is not in your control, by far. Most of the best baseball pitchers in the world have never thrown a perfect game. The best fundraisers never have a perfect solicitation. The best leaders never run the best perfect meeting. It doesn't happen. I'm not talking about perfection. What I'm talking about is, do you want to be your best self? To be your best self, we must define your best self. We must define it. What is your best self? What does it look like? And not just your best self of today, but your best self of tomorrow, of the future. Your best self of today has holes in it. I know mine does. I have to aspire. So we need to define our best self in terms of a vision for ourselves. You might even want to write it down. In fact, I encourage you to do that. Who is the best self I want to be? It must be clearly defined. Can you define it? To be your best self, we must also exhibit integrity. We must be it. I'm going to spend more time on integrity because it's so important in being our best self. Integrity is defined as the quality of being honest and fair, the state of being complete or whole. It has a human element, honest and fair, complete or whole, kind of like an engineering term. A whole piece of wood has integrity. A whole piece of metal has integrity. A whole complete building has integrity. Personal, professional, organizational integrity are linked and intertwined. I'll say that again. Personal, professional, and organizational integrity are linked and intertwined. Gaps in one can and will lead to gaps in all. Integrity holds principles and values, intentionally or unintentionally. We all, every person, every nonprofit has values and principles. To be our best self, you have to have principles. You have to have intentional principles and values that you have in your life, that you seek to believe, that you seek to exhibit, and that you seek to express. I want to share with you two stories. How many of you all have heard of Al Capone? A number of years ago, Al Capone virtually owned all of Chicago, leading an organized group in illegal bootlegging, prostitution, and murder. I didn't realize that Al Capone was in the agriculture business. Bootlegging, food group, murder, composting, prostitution. Well, maybe Al Capone went to a NAADA meeting and talked about shagging. Al Capone had a lawyer named Easy Eddie. Who here has ever heard of Easy Eddie? Of course, no one never hears of a lawyer. He was Capone's lawyer. He was a business partner. He was very good. Eddie's skills kept Al Capone out of prison for a long time. Capone showed appreciation for Easy Eddie by showering him with every luxury in life that could be enjoyed, including a gated mansion with servants. The mansion was so big, it took up an entire Chicago city block. Eddie lived the high life and gave little thought to the evils that was all around him. But he had a soft spot in his heart. He had a son he loved completely. And Eddie ensured that his son had everything in life to get ahead. Despite Eddie's involvement in organized crime, Eddie tried to teach his son right from wrong. He wanted his son to be a better man than he was. Yet with all his wealth and influence, there were two things Easy Eddie could not pass on to his son: his good name and a true example. It was later that Eddie decided to try to right all his wrongs. He went to law enforcement, told the truth about Al Capone, in hopes that it would clean up his tarnished name, and he would offer some semblance of integrity to his son. In order to do this, he would have to testify against Capone and the mob, and that it would most likely cost him dearly. He testified, and within a year, Easy Eddie's life ended in an enormous blaze of gunfire on a quiet Chicago street. Yet, in Easy Eddie's eyes, he had given the greatest gift he could to his son. Second story. World War II brought us many heroes. One such hero was a lieutenant named Butch O'Hare. He was a fighter pilot for the U.S. Navy. One day, his entire squadron was set on a mission. After airborne, Butch realized that someone had forgotten to entirely fill his fuel tank. He could not complete the mission and return to the ship. So he was told by his commander to return to the ship, which he did immediately, while the squadron proceeded on their mission. As O'Hare was returning to the ship, he saw something that turned his blood cold. A Japanese air squadron of 9 twin-engine bombers speeding toward the USS Lexington. With the airplanes gone on a sortie, his ship was defenseless, and he had no time to bring back his squadron. Not taking into account his own personal safety, he dove into the formation of Japanese bombers with his wing-mounted guns blazing as he surprised one enemy plane after another. When his ammunition ran out, he dove at the enemy planes, hoping to clip a wing and send them in a downward spiral. Finally, he surprised all of the planes. They left, and the remaining ones left and headed in a different direction. Butch O'Hare and his battered fighter limped back to the carrier. Once he landed safely, he told of his harrowing encounter. The film from the gun camera mounted on his plane told the entire tale and showed the extent of Butch's heroism. He had destroyed 5 enemy planes. Because of his actions, he became the first Navy ace in World War II and the first naval aviator to win the Congressional Medal of Honor. A year later, at age 29, Butch was killed in their airplane. His hotel in Chicago would not allow his memory to fade. O'Hare Airport is named in his honor. So what do these two stories have in common? And why are they choking up? Easy Eddie, his last name was O'Hare. His son was Butch O'Hare. These true stories of Easy Eddie and his son Butch O'Hare call to our attention many necessary truths, including redemption. They also call to our attention the importance of integrity. Christ's Son paid for it, and the great benefit of integrity across years and even generations. Integrity is transparent. What you see is what you get. Easy Eddie could not sustain a transparent life by endorsing criminal behavior while teaching his son to live an honest life. I hope none of us are criminals, but do we really allow 100% transparency in our lives, even to one other person? Integrity is consistent. Obviously, Easy Eddie has inconsistency, conflicts, and struggles. We'll talk about those conflicts in a minute between his life and his desire for his son. Transparency and consistency engender trust. Trust makes others want to follow. I think this is one of the real strengths that I have as a coach and mentor. We do a lot of coaching and mentoring for fundraisers, managers, and leaders, helping them be better fundraisers, managers, and leaders. I tell people I'm there to help them, and they trust me to do so because I'm consistent and transparent. Because I am 100% engaged in helping them be a better fundraiser, manager, and leader. Trust matters. People vary in their capacity to act with integrity. Why have I spent so much time talking about integrity? Because very successful people, like the people in this room, often have a high degree of confidence in their own judgment. Confidence is one reason for our success, and our success is one reason for our confidence. This is especially true, I think, of fundraisers. Many of the people I know in communications and student professionals, not to mention confidence in deans and faculty members, that can kind of go off the graph sometimes. When I was a 31-year-old new vice president for fundraising, after 2 years, we had our best year ever at the institution. Off the graph best year. Someone put on my door, "Future so bright, gotta wear shades." My confidence was soon coupled with humility, because the next year, 1986, was our worst year. 1986, October stock market crash. We had all kinds of asks on the table. They all evaporated overnight. Life happens. Confidence can directly lead to failure. It can also directly lead to integrity conflict. Confidence can readily lead to arrogance, over-optimism, and escalation of commitment to choices that turn out to be either wrong morally or wrong factually. Confidence can lead us to ignore political leaders, governments around the world. He inspired and guided a spectacular rise in Japanese industry after World War II and the resurgence of the American automobile industry in the late 1980s. The impact of his revolutionary ideas led to him now being identified as the father of the third phase of the Industrial Revolution. Deming said, quote, "It is not enough to be your best. You must know what to do, and then you can be your best." You have to do the inventory to be your best. Because the nonprofit sector is short of people that can fill the jobs we have, I will include in our discussion tomorrow a short inventory of what we must look for in those we hire. I was glad to hear Donnie talk about that a little bit this morning, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. To be our best selves, we must identify our strengths and utilize them. To be our best self, we must embrace accountability. We must count it. I don't care whether it's a group, a best friend, a spouse, maybe someone else in this room that also wants to be their best self. We must be accountable. We must seek feedback to everything we do. Meetings, the year, the month, the day. Seek a perspective other than your own. What did I do well, and what can I do better? It's not a question we like to ask, but what I found is that the more I asked it, the easier it becomes to ask, and the more readily I can accept the feedback that I receive. There's a quote I like. "Never give up on something you really want. While it is difficult to wait, strive, and pursue something you want, it is more difficult to regret." To be our best self, we must share it. We must share it with others. We are in the nonprofit sector. By definition, we are here to do public good. By bringing our best self to work every day, we do the most good for others. To do the most good for others, we have to be willing to take risks, to cut the lines to the dock, and to venture into the deep. So while I am encouraging us to be our best selves, it cannot solely be for ourselves. I believe we should seek to be our best self for the good of others, for those we work with, for those colleges and universities that we serve, for the public that we serve, for the students and citizens that we benefit from our work every day. From the collaboration we do with others, we need to be bringing our best self to that every day. Our best selves, whether we are in student programming, communication, alumni, fundraising, whether we're a volunteer, a dean, a member of the faculty, or a university president, our best selves have an impact on the public good every day. It may even have an impact on our sons, our daughters, and even following generations. Therefore, you must engage your best self to help others, encourage others. We are, after all, in the business of changing lives and saving lives. We are bringing solutions to those lives. In a world of great and significant challenges, including the challenges of the basic elements that billions of people count on every day, food, water, and clothing, some for just simple survival, we bring hope. So I encourage you to be your best self. I encourage you to be your best self. First, by wanting it, to be determined. By defining it, write it down. Be it. Walk with integrity. Utilize it. Define reality. Identify your strengths. Put them to work. Be passionate about learning more. Count it. Be accountable. Make yourself accountable. Share it. And we need to share it because it is by changing lives and saving lives that you find that greatest meaning to your labor and the deepest reward to being your best self. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you today. God bless you, every one of you, in your work and your efforts to be your best self. Thank you.